The Great Hall of the Galactic Federation stretched out like a vast ocean of light and sound. Representatives from 12 different worlds sat in floating chairs that moved gently through the air. The walls showed images of distant stars and planets, reminding everyone of the huge space they all shared. Elder Zethkar stood in the center of the hall. His people, the Voidwalkers, had watched the galaxy for thousands of years. They were old when most other species were still learning to make fire. His skin looked like dark space with tiny lights that moved slowly across it. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of ages. "My friends," he began, and the hall grew quiet. "I come before you today with a warning. There is a species on a small world that orbits a yellow star. They call themselves humans, and they call their world Earth." A few representatives made soft sounds of interest, but most looked bored. Admiral Kextar of the Zephyrians leaned back in his chair. His people could control pure energy with their minds. They had built cities that floated in the clouds and ships that could move faster than light. What could some unknown species possibly matter to them? "These humans," Zethkar continued, "are different from any species we have encountered. They have something that makes them dangerous beyond measure." "Dangerous?" laughed Commander Threshik from the Nexus Collective. His body was half machine, half living tissue. Bright lights blinked along his metal arms. "Our scans show they have barely left their home planet. Their weapons use chemical explosives. Their computers are simple silicon-based systems. What danger could they pose?" Zethkar raised one long arm and images appeared in the air above them. The representatives saw a blue and green world, beautiful but unremarkable. Cities covered parts of the land and strange metal birds flew through the sky. "Watch," Zethkar said simply. The images changed. Now they showed humans in their wars. The representatives saw great battles with millions of soldiers. They watched as humans fought with sticks and stones, then with metal swords, then with guns that could kill from far away. They saw humans build flying machines in just a few decades after learning to fly. They watched as humans split atoms and reached for the stars. "See how quickly they advance," Zethkar pointed out. "In just a few thousand years, they went from living in caves to splitting atoms. Most species take 10 times longer to make such progress." General Vorthak of the Korthak Empire stood up. His people were warriors, tall and strong with thick armor-like skin. They had conquered dozens of worlds through pure military might. "If they advance quickly, that just means we should act quickly too. Bring them into the Federation before they become too strong. Make them follow our rules." "You do not understand," Zethkar said, his voice becoming more urgent. "Humans do not simply accept defeat. Watch this." The images changed again. They showed a human city burning under attack from the sky. But instead of running away or giving up, the humans worked together to rebuild. They studied their attackers and found ways to fight back. They never stopped trying. Every time humans face destruction, they find a way to survive. Every time they lose a battle, they learn how to win the next one. They have never, in all their history, simply given up and accepted defeat. Dr. Lysara of the Ethereals touched her glowing crystal head with one thin finger. Her people were known for their wisdom and their ability to see into the future. "Elder Zethkar speaks truly. In all our visions, we see only two paths for humanity. They either become our greatest allies or our worst enemies. There is no middle ground." The hall erupted in noise. Some representatives laughed while others argued. The crystal beings from Nexus Prime sang their doubts in high, clear notes. The gas cloud people from Arian whispered among themselves in voices that sounded like wind. Supreme Admiral Vextar of the Korthak Empire slammed his fist on his chair's arm. The sound echoed through the hall like thunder. "Enough! I have fought in 100 wars across 50 worlds. I have seen species that could breathe fire, others that could turn invisible, and some that could read minds. None of them could stand against the might of the Federation. These humans, with their primitive weapons and single world, are nothing to fear." Zethkar's star-like eyes grew dim with sadness. "You see their current weakness and think it will always be so. You see their small numbers and think they will always be small. You see their single world and think they will never reach the stars. This is your mistake." He waved his hand and new images appeared. These showed humans working together during great disasters. When earthquakes destroyed their cities, millions of humans came to help rebuild. When diseases threatened to kill them all, their scientists worked day and night until they found cures. When floods covered their lands, neighbors helped neighbors survive. "See how they unite in times of crisis," Zethkar said. "Most species become selfish when facing danger. Humans become selfless. They will die for strangers. They will give up everything to save their children." They will fight impossible odds to protect what they love. Chancellor Quindar of the trade union, a slug-like being with dozens of eyes, slithered forward. But surely they can be reasoned with. They must want something. Every species wants something. Wealth, power, knowledge, long life. We can offer them these things in exchange for cooperation. What humans want, Zethkar replied, is freedom. The freedom to choose their own path, to make their own mistakes, to live by their own rules. They do not want to be ruled by others, no matter how wise or powerful those rulers might be. Then we will teach them, said Admiral Kextar. We will show them the benefits of joining our federation. When they see our advanced technology, our peaceful worlds, our perfect order, they will understand that our way is better. Zethkar looked around the hall at all the representatives. Some were listening carefully, but many still looked unconvinced. He could see the pride in their eyes, the certainty that their advanced civilizations were superior to these unknown humans. I have lived for 3,000 years, he said quietly. I have seen great empires rise and fall. I have watched as proud species learned too late that strength comes in many forms. If you approach humans as conquerors, they will fight you with everything they have. If you approach them as equals, they will stand beside you against any threat in the galaxy. The voting began. Each species cast their decision into the great crystal at the center of the hall. One by one, lights appeared in the crystal. Blue for agreement with Zethkar's warning. Red for proceeding with the contact mission as planned. When all the votes were counted, 10 red lights glowed in the crystal. Only 2 blue lights joined them, from the Ethereals and the Void Walkers themselves. Supreme Admiral Vextar stood with satisfaction. The decision is made. We will contact these humans and invite them to join our federation. They will become a junior member species, under our protection and guidance. I volunteer to lead this mission personally. As the representatives began to leave, Zethkar remained in the center of the hall. Dr. Lysara floated over to him, her crystalline form glowing with worry. You tried to warn them, she said softly. What happens now? Zethkar watched the last of the representatives disappear through the great doors. Now we discover whether wisdom comes from listening to warnings or from learning through painful experience. I fear it will be the latter. The great hall fell silent, but the elder's words seemed to echo in the empty space. You mistake their current weakness for permanent limitation. This decision will either forge the greatest alliance in galactic history or herald its end. 6 months had passed since the Federation Council made their decision. Admiral Vexter stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominant Will, watching the small blue world grow larger through the viewing screen. Behind him, 99 other ships of the Federation fleet moved in perfect formation. Such a small planet, muttered Captain Yorthas, Vextar's second-in-command. Hard to believe anything important could come from such a place. Admiral Vexitar nodded. His thick gray skin was marked with scars from dozens of battles. His people, the Korthak, believed that strength was the only truth that mattered in the universe. This mission would be simple. Show these humans the power of the Federation and they would surrender immediately. Signal the lead ships, Vextar ordered. Begin the demonstration pattern. Let these humans see what they face. On Earth's surface, alarms were ringing in command centers around the world. President Chen of the Asian Republic stared at the screens showing the alien fleet. Secretary General Maria Santos of the United Nations stood beside her, watching as more and more ships appeared on the radar. How many? Santos asked. 100 ships, replied General Morrison, each one bigger than our largest aircraft carrier. The energy readings are off our scales. Santos closed her eyes for a moment. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for generations, first contact with alien life. But they had also feared it. Now that fear seemed justified. The communication came 3 hours later. Admiral Vextar's face appeared on screens around the world. He looked exactly like what humans might imagine an alien warrior would look like. Tall, strong, and completely without mercy in his eyes. People of Earth, he began. I am Admiral Vextar of the Galactic Federation. Your species has been selected to join our great alliance of civilized worlds. Santos stepped forward to reply. She had been chosen to speak for all of humanity, because she had spent her life bringing different nations together. If anyone could handle this situation, it was her. Welcome to our solar system, she said calmly. We are honored to meet you. We would be very interested in learning about your federation and discussing how we might work together. Admiral Vextar's expression did not change. You misunderstand. This is not a discussion. You will relocate your population to a world better suited for primitive species. Your planet will become a resource extraction site for the Federation. In return, you will receive protection and guidance. The silence that followed was heavy with shock. Santos felt her heart racing but kept her voice steady. I'm afraid we cannot accept those terms. Earth is our home. We would be happy to trade with you to share knowledge and culture, but we will not abandon our world. For a moment, Vextar looked surprised. In all his years of bringing new species into the Federation, none had ever refused the first offer. Usually they were so awed by the sight of the Federation fleet that they agreed immediately. You refuse? He asked. We decline, Santos corrected. We hope we can find terms that work for both of us. Vexatar's surprise turned to anger. These primitive beings dared to negotiate with him? They had technology that was centuries behind the Federation. They had never even left their own solar system. Yet they thought they could bargain as equals? You have one day to reconsider, he said. If you do not accept our generous offer, we will be forced to demonstrate why resistance is futile. The transmission ended. Around the world, leaders gathered in emergency sessions. Some wanted to accept the alien demands. Others wanted to fight. But most were simply afraid. 24 hours later, Santos gave humanity's final answer. We thank the Federation for their offer, but our answer remains the same. We cannot abandon our home. We hope you will respect our decision. Admiral Vextar had expected this response. The younger species always needed to see Federation power before they understood their place. He had planned for this moment. Target their moon base, he ordered. Full destruction. Let them see what happens to those who defy the Federation. Luna Base had been humanity's pride for 30 years. 50,000 people lived and worked there, mining rare minerals and conducting research. They had less than 10 minutes warning before the Federation ships opened fire. The attack was swift and terrible. Massive energy beams struck the lunar surface, turning rock and metal into glowing vapor. In minutes, Luna Base was gone, along with every person who had lived there. On Earth, billions of people watched the destruction through telescopes and satellites. They saw their moon, which had shone in their sky since the beginning of human history, now scarred with a glowing crater where their people had lived and worked. Admiral Vextar expected immediate surrender. Every other species had collapsed after such a demonstration. Instead, something happened that had never occurred in Federation history. Every nation on Earth, including those that had been enemies for generations, held emergency meetings. Ancient rivals put aside their differences. Countries that had fought wars for centuries suddenly stood together. President Volkov of the Eurasian states called President Chen directly. Whatever our differences, we are all human. We stand together now. Prime Minister Okafor of the African Alliance agreed immediately. They attacked our children on the moon. This cannot stand. Within hours, every major leader on Earth had agreed to something that had never happened before in human history. Complete unity. All armies would serve under one command. All resources would be shared. All technology would be combined. Secretary General Santos stood before the cameras once more. Behind her, the flags of every nation on Earth hung side by side. Her voice was steady, but her eyes burned with anger. To the Galactic Federation, she began, you have made a grave mistake. You came to our world and demanded we abandon our home. When we refused, you murdered 50,000 innocent people. You did this to frighten us into submission. She paused, and when she spoke again, her words carried the weight of all humanity's resolve. You have not frightened us. You have united us. For the first time in our history, every human being stands together with one purpose. We declare war on the Galactic Federation. We will not surrender. We will not flee. We will fight, and we will make you regret the day you decided to threaten our world. On the bridge of the dominant will, Admiral Vextar stared at the transmission in disbelief. No species had ever declared war on the entire Federation. It was suicide. The Federation controlled thousands of worlds and had fleets that numbered in the millions of ships. Sir, Captain Yorthus said uncertainly, should we prepare for immediate bombardment of their planet? Vextar was quiet for a long moment. Something about the human's words bothered him. She had not begged for mercy or tried to bargain for better terms. She had not shown fear. Instead, she had shown something he had rarely encountered in all his years of conquest: pure, focused anger. No, he said finally. We will blockade their system and wait for them to come to their senses. When they realize they cannot win, they will surrender. But as the days passed, the Federation fleet detected something strange. Instead of cowering in fear, the humans were building. Their factories worked day and night. Their space stations hummed with activity. Radio signals filled their system as they coordinated their efforts. Most disturbing of all, their communication showed no fear, no doubt, no talk of surrender. Instead, they spoke of weapons, of tactics, of how to hurt the Federation fleet. Admiral Vextar began to understand that he had made a mistake. But it was already too late. The war had begun, and these humans seemed determined to fight it to the very end. In the deep space around their system, humans were already moving. Ships that had been designed for mining asteroids were being converted into weapons of war. Satellites that had once studied the stars were being turned into missile platforms. The Federation had expected quick submission. Instead, they had awakened something that Elder Zethkar had tried to warn them about: the fury of an entire species with nothing left to lose. Admiral Vextar expected the war to last 3 days. Instead, 3 weeks had passed, and the Federation fleet had learned to fear the dark spaces between planets. Status report, Vextar demanded as he entered the command center. His confidence from the early days was gone, replaced by growing frustration. Captain Yorthas looked up from his displays, his expression grim. "We've lost 23 ships in the past week, sir. The humans are using tactics we've never encountered." "Impossible," Vextar growled. "They have no fleet. Our sensors show only a few dozen primitive vessels." "That's the problem, sir. They're not fighting like a normal fleet. Watch this." The main screen showed footage from the previous day's engagement. A Federation cruiser moved through what appeared to be empty space near Jupiter. Suddenly, explosions erupted along its hull. The ship's shields flickered and died. Then, from what looked like dead asteroids, human ships emerged and struck with weapons that should not have existed. "They're hiding weapons inside asteroids, sir, disguising ships as space debris. They've turned their entire solar system into a trap." Vextar watched the recording again. The human attack had lasted only minutes, but it had destroyed a ship that could have conquered entire worlds. Worse, when Federation reinforcements arrived, the human ships had vanished back into the asteroid belt. "How are they building these weapons so quickly?" he asked. Chief Analyst Kortham stepped forward. The thin, pale alien had been studying human communications for weeks. "They're not building new weapons, sir. They're modifying everything they have. Mining ships become bombers. Communication satellites become missile platforms. Even their space junk becomes weapons. And their technology? That's the most disturbing part, sir. They've reverse-engineered our weapons from the wreckage of ships we've lost. In just 3 weeks, they've advanced their technology by decades." Admiral Vextar felt a chill run through him. He remembered Elder Zethkar's warning about humans learning from every defeat. At the time, it had seemed like the ramblings of an old fool. Now it felt like prophecy. "Sir," Communications Officer Vithara called out, "we're receiving a transmission from command. Admiral Nextor wants to speak with you immediately." The holographic image of Admiral Nextor appeared in the center of the room. The senior Korthak officer looked angry and impatient. "Vextar, what is the meaning of these reports? You assured command that this operation would be completed quickly." "Sir, the humans are proving more resourceful than anticipated." "Resourceful?" Nextor's voice rose. "They destroyed a supply convoy in the Centauri system yesterday. That's 3 light-years from their home world. How are they even reaching our territory?" Vextar felt his stomach drop. "What? You didn't know?" Nextor's expression turned from anger to concern. "Vextar, human ships have been spotted in 6 different systems. They're not just defending their world anymore. They're attacking ours." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Vextar turned to his sensor operator. "How is this possible? How are they getting past our blockade?" "Unknown, sir. But look at this." The sensor operator brought up a display of the local area. "Our ships are positioned here, here, and here, blocking all the main space routes. But humans don't seem to be using the main routes." "What do you mean?" "They're coming from directions we didn't think were possible, sir. Through asteroid fields too dense for normal navigation, past gas giants with radiation levels that should kill any crew. They're taking routes that our computers say are suicide." Captain Yorthas looked at the data with growing unease. "Sir, I think they're not just taking dangerous routes. I think they're learning to survive them. Their ships are getting tougher with each encounter." "On Earth," Secretary General Santos stood in the command center that had become the heart of humanity's war effort. Around her, officers from every nation worked side by side. Russian engineers shared data with American pilots. Chinese hackers worked with European strategists. African miners coordinated with Australian sailors. "Report," she ordered. General Morrison stepped forward. Operation Ghost Strike was successful. We destroyed 3 Federation supply ships and captured 1 intact. Our scientists are already studying their technology. Casualties. Light. The crew of Ghost 7 is missing, but they transmitted all their data before going dark. Santos nodded. Every human loss hurt, but they were learning to make each sacrifice count. What about the outer system attacks? Admiral Kim's Deep Space Fleet has struck targets in 4 systems. They're using the new stealth technology we developed from captured Federation ships. The enemy doesn't know we're coming until we're already gone. Dr. Elizabeth Warren, humanity's chief scientist, approached with a tablet full of data. "Maria, we've made another breakthrough. We figured out how their faster-than-light communication works. We can now intercept their messages. What are they saying?" Dr. Warren smiled grimly. "They're confused, and they're starting to get scared. Listen to this transmission we captured from their command ship." She played the recording. Even translated into English, the alien voices carried clear tones of worry and doubt. "The humans fight like no species we have encountered. They do not retreat when outnumbered. They do not surrender when outgunned. Each defeat seems to make them more dangerous." Santos felt a fierce pride at those words. "What else?" "More interesting is what they're not saying," Dr. Warren continued. "Their communication patterns show they're arguing among themselves. Some want to bring more ships. Others want to try negotiating. A few are even suggesting they should withdraw." "Withdraw?" General Morrison looked surprised. "They have 100 ships. We have maybe 30 vessels that could be called warships. But we have something they don't," Santos pointed out. "We have home field advantage. Every asteroid, every piece of space debris, every radiation field in our solar system can be used as a weapon or hiding place. We know this system better than anyone." Captain Sarah Chen of the Deep Space Reconnaissance Division entered the room. Her ship, the Hidden Blade, had just returned from a mission to Federation territory. "Ma'am, I have intelligence that might interest you," she said. "The Federation isn't just one happy alliance. We've identified at least 12 different species in their fleet, and they don't all get along." "Explain." "Their communications show tension between groups. The Korthak want to use overwhelming force. The Zephyrians think they should use their energy weapons to destroy Earth completely, but some of the other species are questioning whether this war is necessary at all." Santos leaned forward. This was the first good news they'd had in weeks. "Can we exploit these divisions?" "Already working on it. We've started broadcasting messages on their communication frequencies, reminding them of old conflicts between their species, asking why they're dying for Korthak pride." Dr. Warren pulled up another display. "And there's something else. Our analysis of their technology shows it's actually not that much more advanced than ours in some areas. They've had it longer, but they've stopped innovating. They became comfortable with their superiority. While we've been innovating constantly just to survive," Morrison added. "Every day we face challenges that require new solutions. They've been using the same tactics for centuries." Santos looked around the room at her team. These people just months ago had been citizens of different nations, many of which had been enemies. Now they worked together with a unity that she had never seen before in human history. "Status of Project Prometheus?" she asked. Dr. Warren's eyes gleamed. "Ready for testing. If it works, we won't just be fighting a defensive war anymore." Santos nodded. Prometheus was humanity's most ambitious plan yet. A way to strike at the heart of Federation territory with a single devastating blow. It was dangerous, possibly suicidal, but it might be their only chance to show the Federation that humans were not prey to be hunted. "Begin final preparations," she ordered. "It's time to show these aliens what happens when you threaten humanity's home." Outside, in the cold darkness of space, the war continued. Human ships moved like ghosts through the asteroid belt, striking without warning and vanishing before the Federation could respond. And with each attack, each captured ship, each decoded message, humanity learned more about their enemies. The Federation had expected a quick victory over a primitive species. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with each passing day. An enemy that learned from every mistake and turned every defeat into a lesson for future victory. Admiral Vextar, staring at the latest casualty reports, finally began to understand what Elder Zethkar had tried to warn them about. But understanding came too late. The war had already begun to change, and humanity was no longer just defending their home. They were learning to hunt. The war that was supposed to last days had stretched into its second year. In the great council chambers of the Galactic Federation, the mood was very different from the confident gathering that had voted to contact humanity. Elder Zethkar sat in his floating chair, watching as the other representatives argued with increasing desperation. His star-filled eyes showed no surprise at what was happening, only deep sadness. 73 worlds. Admiral Kexter of the Zephyrians shouted, his energy form flickering with rage. 73 Federation worlds have experienced human attacks. How is this possible from a species that supposedly had no space travel? Supreme Admiral Nexter of the Korthak Empire stood heavily. His scarred face showed the strain of commanding a war that made no sense. The humans don't fight like any species we know. They don't attack military targets and then try to hold territory. They strike supply lines, communication centers, civilian infrastructure. They're trying to cripple our ability to fight. It's working, added Chancellor Quindar of the Trade Union. His slug-like body had lost its healthy sheen, and several of his eyes looked dim with worry. Trade between our worlds has dropped by 60%. Ships are afraid to travel without military escort. Dr. Lysara of the Ethereals floated closer to the center. Her crystalline form glowed with urgent patterns. The humans are doing something we never expected. They're not trying to conquer us. They're inspiring others to rebel. The hall erupted in angry voices. Representatives from a dozen species all spoke at once, their words mixing into a chaos of fear and frustration. Elder Zethkar raised one long arm, and slowly, the noise died down. Tell them, Dr. Lysara. Tell them what the humans are really doing. The ethereal's glow shifted to patterns that spoke of deep concern. 17 minor species have declared independence from the Federation. The humans are broadcasting messages on every frequency, telling the story of Luna Base. They're showing what the Federation did to 50,000 innocent people, and they're asking why we have the right to rule over others. Propaganda. General Vorthak slammed his armored fist against his chair. Lies and manipulation. Are they lies? Dr. Lysara asked quietly. Did we not destroy their moon base to frighten them into submission? Do we not keep dozens of species under our control through threat of force? The uncomfortable silence that followed was broken by a new voice. Communication Officer Zaltine rushed into the hall, his forearms carrying data tablets. Urgent news from the front, he called out. The humans have launched something called Operation Prometheus. They've struck at the heart of Korthak space. Admiral Nextor's face went pale. What do you mean? Korthak Prime, sir. The human fleet attacked your homeworld 6 hours ago. The hall went completely silent. Korthak Prime was the most heavily defended world in Federation space. It was surrounded by defensive platforms, patrol fleets, and energy shields that could stop planet-killing weapons. Impossible, Nextor whispered. How many ships did they use? 3, sir. 3 ships attacked Korthak Prime. They must have been destroyed immediately. Zaltine shook his head. Sir, the 3 ships were just a diversion. While your fleets chased them, 50 human ships appeared from hyperspace inside your defensive perimeter. They used some kind of new stealth technology we've never seen before. What did they target? Everything, sir. Military bases, communication centers, orbital factories, the planet's defense grid. They didn't try to invade or occupy. They just destroyed as much as possible in 30 minutes, then vanished back into hyperspace. Admiral Nextor sank into his chair. Korthak Prime had not been attacked in over 200 years. The psychological impact would be devastating. But sir, Zaltine continued, that's not the worst part. Before they left, they broadcast a message to every world in Korthak space. What message? They showed recordings of the destruction of Luna Base, sir. Then they said, this is what you did to our people. Now you know how it feels. We can reach any world, any fleet, any target you have. Stop this war or we will bring it to your homes. Elder Zethkar spoke into the shocked silence. Now do you begin to understand? The humans are not fighting to conquer us. They are fighting to teach us a lesson. What lesson? Demanded Admiral Kextar. That strength does not give us the right to rule over others. That fear is not the foundation for lasting peace. That if we use terror as a weapon, Others can learn to use it against us. On a hidden base in the asteroid belt, Secretary General Maria Santos watched the reports coming in from across Federation space. Operation Prometheus had succeeded beyond their wildest hopes. The attack on Korthak Prime had sent shockwaves throughout the Federation. "Ma'am," General Morrison approached with a data pad. "Intelligence reports that Federation forces are pulling back from several sectors. They're consolidating around their most important worlds." "Good. That means they're starting to realize they can't be everywhere at once." Santos turned to Dr. Warren, who was studying intercepts of Federation communications. "What are they saying?" "It's fascinating," Dr. Warren replied. "The Federation is fracturing. Some species want to negotiate for peace. Others want to escalate to total war. A few are even suggesting they should abandon the war entirely and let us have our independence." Captain Chen of the Deep Space Fleet joined the discussion. "We've also made contact with some of the minor species that have declared independence. They want to coordinate their efforts with ours." Santos felt a mixture of hope and worry. "What kind of coordination?" "Intelligence sharing, mostly. Some want to launch their own attacks on Federation targets while we have them distracted. A few are even offering to help us directly." "Be careful," Santos warned. "We can't let this turn into a galactic civil war. Our goal is to be left alone, not to destroy the Federation." Dr. Warren looked up from her communications intercepts. "Actually, Maria, I'm not sure we have a choice anymore. Listen to this." She played a recorded message from Admiral Nextor to the Federation Council. Even through the translation, his voice carried rage and desperation. "The humans have made this personal. They have struck at our home worlds. They have inspired rebellion throughout our territory. There can be no peace until they are completely destroyed. I propose we use the planet killers." Santos felt her blood turn cold. Planet killers were weapons that could destroy entire worlds. If the Federation used them on Earth, how many of these weapons do they have? She asked. "Intelligence suggests at least 12, General Morrison replied. "Each one can crack a planet's crust or boil away its atmosphere." "Then we need to move to Phase 2 immediately," Santos decided. "Send word to all our deep space fleets. Begin Operation Retribution." Captain Chen looked concerned. "Ma'am, Phase 2 means striking at civilian targets." "Are you sure?" Santos was quiet for a moment. She had hoped it wouldn't come to this. But if the Federation was willing to destroy Earth entirely, then humanity had to make them understand the true cost of this war. "The Federation thinks they can threaten our families, our homes, our very existence, and we'll just accept it because they're stronger than us," she said finally. "It's time to show them that strength isn't just about having bigger weapons. Send the message to all Federation worlds. If you use planet killers against Earth, we will make every Federation citizen understand what it means to live in fear." On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Vextar received new orders from command. He was to gather all available planet killer weapons and prepare for the final strike against Earth. The Federation had decided that humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to exist, but as he looked at the reports from across Federation space, Vextar wondered if it was already too late. The humans had shown they could strike anywhere, anytime. They had turned dozens of species against the Federation. They had brought war to worlds that had known only peace for centuries. Most troubling of all, they had shown no sign of weakening. Every attack seemed to make them more determined. Every loss seemed to teach them new ways to fight. Elder Zethkar's warning echoed in his mind. If you approach humans as conquerors, they will fight you with everything they have. Now, as he prepared to destroy their world entirely, Vextar realized that everything they had was far more than anyone had imagined. The war was about to enter its final, most terrible phase, and no one could predict who would be left standing when it ended. The final battle began not with the thunder of weapons, but with a message broadcast across every communication frequency in the galaxy. Secretary General Maria Santos stood in the command center on Earth, looking directly into the camera. Behind her, holographic displays showed the positions of Federation planet killer weapons moving toward human space. Her voice was calm, but her words carried the weight of an entire species' determination. "To all beings in the galaxy," she began. 3 years ago, the Galactic Federation came to our world and demanded we abandon our home. When we refused, they murdered 50,000 innocent people. When we fought back, they called us savages and terrorists. The image switched to show recordings of Federation attacks on human colonies, of civilian ships destroyed without warning, of space stations blown apart with all hands aboard. Now they come with planet-killer weapons to destroy our world completely. They believe that superior firepower gives them the right to commit genocide. Today, we prove them wrong. Santos turned to look at her staff. Every person in the room knew they might be dead within hours. But none of them showed fear. Instead, their faces showed the same determination that had carried humanity through 3 years of impossible war. Operation Final Gambit is now active, she announced. All units begin simultaneous strikes. Show them what happens when you threaten to destroy our home. Across the galaxy, human fleets that had been hiding in the dark spaces between stars suddenly revealed themselves. They struck at the heart of every major Federation world at exactly the same moment. On Zephyrian Prime, home world of the energy-manipulating aliens, human ships appeared in orbit and began broadcasting a simple message. Evacuate all civilian areas immediately. You have 1 hour. Admiral Kextar, watching from his command center on the planet's surface, could hardly believe what he was seeing. They're giving us time to evacuate? Why? His aide, a young officer named Veltar, looked at the tactical displays with growing alarm. Sir, they're not targeting population centers. They're going after government buildings, military bases, and industrial complexes. What kind of enemy warns you before they attack? One that doesn't want to become like us, came a voice from the doorway. Admiral Kextar turned to see Elder Zethkar entering the command center. The ancient being's star-filled eyes held a mixture of sadness and understanding. Elder, what are you doing here? I came to witness the end of the war I tried to prevent, Zethkar replied. The humans are teaching us one final lesson. On the main screen, they watched as human ships began their precise bombardment of military targets. Bases that had stood for centuries were reduced to rubble, but not a single civilian building was touched. They could kill millions, Kextar said quietly. Our shields are down. Our defenses are overwhelmed. They could destroy our cities, but they're not. Because, Elder Zethkar said, they are not us. They fight to protect their people, not to dominate others. Even now, facing the total destruction of their world, they show mercy we never offered them. Similar scenes played out across 100 Federation worlds. Human fleets struck with overwhelming force at military and government targets, but took extraordinary care to avoid civilian casualties. The message was clear. We can destroy your worlds as easily as you plan to destroy ours, but we choose not to. In space above Earth, Admiral Vextar commanded the Federation's final assault force. 12 planet-killer weapons moved slowly toward the blue world that had caused so much trouble. Each weapon could crack the planet's crust or boil away its atmosphere. There would be no survivors. Sir, Captain Yorthas reported, we're receiving transmissions from across Federation space. Human forces are attacking our homeworld simultaneously. Let them, Vextar growled. After we destroy Earth, we'll hunt down every human ship in the galaxy. Sir, you should see this. Yorthas activated the main screen. It showed feeds from Korthak Prime, where human ships were systematically destroying every military installation while broadcasting warnings for civilians to evacuate. They're pulling their punches, Vextar realized. Even now they won't target innocents. That just proves they're weak, snarled General Kortham. No true warrior shows mercy to their enemies. But Elder Zethkar's voice came over the communication system. He had somehow managed to broadcast on all Federation frequencies. My fellow beings, the ancient alien said, before you complete this act of genocide, remember why this war began. We demanded these humans abandon their home. When they refused, we killed their people to frighten them. Every escalation in this conflict has come from our actions, not theirs. Admiral Vextar tried to cut off the transmission, but Zethkar continued. Even now, as our planet killers move to destroy their world, the humans show mercy we never offered. They strike only at military targets. They warn civilians to evacuate. They fight like the honorable warriors we once claimed to be. On Earth, Santos watched the approaching Federation fleet with calm acceptance. Humanity had done everything possible. Their message had been sent to every corner of the galaxy. Whatever happened next, the universe would know that humans had faced extinction with courage and had never abandoned their principles. Ma'am, General Morrison said quietly, our deep space fleets report their missions are complete. Every Federation homeworld has been struck simultaneously. Military capacity across their territory has been severely damaged. Civilian casualties? Santos asked. Minimal. Our people followed orders precisely. No targeting of population centers, no attacks on civilian ships. Santos nodded with pride. Even facing the end of their world, humanity had refused to become monsters. But then something unexpected happened. Captain Chen burst into the command center with urgent news. Ma'am, Federation fleets are standing down. The planet killers have stopped moving toward Earth. What? The main screen activated, showing a transmission from Admiral Vextar himself. The proud Korthak warrior looked older than he had 3 years ago. His scarred face marked by something Santos had never expected to see there. Respect. Secretary General Santos, he began. I have received new orders from the Federation Council. The planet killer attack has been cancelled. Santos felt her heart racing. Why? Because you have taught us something we had forgotten. You have shown mercy when we showed none. You have fought with honor when we fought with cruelty. You have united your species in defense of freedom while we have ruled through fear. The image shifted to show the Federation Council chambers. For the first time since the war began, Elder Zethkar stood at the center speaking to the assembled representatives. The humans have proven they are not our enemies, the ancient being said. They are our teachers. They have reminded us what it means to be truly civilized. Dr. Lesara of the Ethereals stepped forward. I propose we dissolve the Galactic Federation as it currently exists. The humans are right. No species has the right to rule over another. One by one, representatives from different species stood to agree. The crystalline minds sang their approval. The cloud beings of Arian whispered their consent. Even some Korthak officers nodded their heads. Admiral Nextor was the last to speak. The proud warrior looked directly at the camera, addressing Santos and all humanity. We came to your world as conquerors, he said. You have taught us to be partners instead. We propose a new alliance, the Galactic Commonwealth, where all species meet as equals. 2 months later, Santos stood in the same great hall where Elder Zethkar had first warned about humanity. But now, the atmosphere was completely different. Representatives from 50 species sat together, not as rulers and subjects, but as equals working toward common goals. The Treaty of Terra was signed in a ceremony that was broadcast across the galaxy. It established the Galactic Commonwealth, founded on principles of voluntary cooperation, mutual respect, and the right of all species to determine their own destiny. Elder Zethkar approached Santos as the ceremony ended. The ancient being's star-filled eyes glowed with something she had rarely seen there: hope. You have done something remarkable, he told her. In trying to destroy you, we discovered what we could become. Santos looked around the hall at beings from dozens of worlds working together peacefully. What happens now? Now you teach us, Zethkar replied. You show us how to be worthy of the freedom you fought to preserve. A young Korthak officer approached them hesitantly. It was Captain Yorthas, who had served under Admiral Vextar throughout the war. Secretary General Santos, he said, I wanted to apologize for my actions during the war, and to ask, would humanity consider sharing your knowledge of defensive tactics with us? Defensive tactics? Santos asked, puzzled. Yes, we have always been conquerors, but you have shown us there is honor in protecting rather than attacking. We would like to learn how to be guardians instead of warriors. Santos smiled. I think we can arrange that. As the representatives began to leave for their respective worlds, Santos remained in the Great Hall. She thought about the 50,000 people who had died on Luna Base, about the human ships lost in 3 years of war, about all the lives that could have been saved if the Federation had listened to Elder Zethkar's warning. But she also thought about the future. For the first time in galactic history, different species would work together as equals.